Hey everyone, welcome to a little bit of woo woo. This episode is being recorded on 6/10 at 4:30 Pacific time. So I wanted to do my little weekly predictions video where I tap to the questions that you guys have intuitively and try and answer as many of those as I can. And interestingly enough, I got a real eclectic mix of questions. So you guys had some interesting things you wanted to know about. First things first, though, I want to tell you, I'm not a doctor, not a lawyer. If you need one of those, call one of those. This is for entertainment purposes, and it's very important for you to understand that sometimes I'm wrong. I'm right more than I'm often than I'm wrong, but I am wrong sometimes. So just don't make any financial decisions based on things that me or any psychic tells you. I'll use some common sense and some wisdom. So before recording this, I wanted to pull a couple of cards to kind of see what was going on in the energy. I hope this is interesting. I did see a lot of, I saw some Eight of Swords, which is kind of restriction and circumstances. So a lot of what's happening for some people is sort of these restriction and circumstances. And I'll tell you a story. I was getting donuts. I do eat those occasionally. My doctor will tell you that's for sure true. I was getting donuts and somebody from DoorDash was coming. It was a kid. He had a broken arm. He was driving clearly his mom's car because I don't know how many kids that age, probably about 18, could afford a brand new Audi, beautiful car. But he had a broken arm and he was doing DoorDash to deliver these donuts. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know, he's a kid. I don't know how many jobs that somebody that age could get, but kind of thinking like an entrepreneur, right? He's an independent contractor. He didn't have to lift a whole lot. A box of donuts doesn't weigh a lot. And he was able to do this regardless of his injury and keep going with that. I would just say a lot of people are experiencing this sort of restriction in circumstances. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's something like that, something similar like a broken arm, and looking for creative ways to solve that problem. Be creative. Allow yourself to think outside of the box. And some of us are just having to, but, you know, circumstances and situations are forcing people's hands. And interestingly enough, I also pulled the Five of Cups, which is really about grief and sadness, but also about seeing that you are being helped. Two of those cups are there to help you and to support you. Also, somebody watching this is experiencing the Tower. I'm sorry. That's tough. It's life shakeups. Something's shaking you up. Something has happened. Maybe it's kind of literally the earthquake that comes in, changes things, breaks things up, and allows you to do something new, which is the next card I pulled. As above, so below. So bringing in new energy and new things from spirit into your life and looking at how you can make things better from there. I would just again reiterate trying to be creative, looking for creative solutions and using your own intuition more. I am going to be doing some videos I'm going to be doing some additional videos on how to use your intuition so you can do this for yourself. I am also available for private readings. You can go to my website. There's a link in the description, but it's basically just my name, jillkthomas.com, and book an appointment online. I'm also seeing with a lot of clients grief events. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I do see a lot of this kind of happening this summer because it's not just your parents or your cats, but it's like things in your life are sort of ending. And this really brings me to what I'm also seeing for a lot of clients this summer. This is a summer of moves. It's a summer of job changes. It's a summer of starting a new business, but sometimes starting a new business is because something ended first. So allow for that. Give yourself space. I would just say more self-care. I mean, I think everybody kind of needs that right now. But I do think especially this summer, there's going to be a lot of yay and a lot of ah, and sometimes in the same day, you know, for people. It's going to be good. These changes are going to be good. The Tower comes along and wipes things out so that you can build a bigger and more stable structure of new materials. So I also wanted to talk about disclosure events. And I've mentioned this before and how I'm seeing a lot of them happening. And I also want to be really clear about the fact that I'm talking about not just like WikiLeaks. I'm talking about finding these disclosure events on places like YouTube. There was a great video that I watched. Oh my God, it was so good. It's by Delivrd. I'll put this in the description because it was just perfect. This is the kind of disclosure event I'm talking about. He was recording a live negotiation with a Mazda, I believe it was a Mazda dealer, to try to negotiate a good deal on a car. And the guy was so condescending, the dealership, and he was just lying. He was kind of going through all of the things that a narcissist does. And we got to watch this negotiation or listen to it and experience it without being the person trying to figure out if you can afford this car and if you're getting robbed. One of the reasons I enjoyed this so much is that we've all experienced this event, trying to negotiate a good price for a car. And it was good to see that the same experience that every woman or every man has probably had is now being disclosed. Like, this is what it really looks like, and this is what it's like to buy a car, and why so many people would hire someone like this person who has this Delivrd website, YouTube channel, to negotiate for them so they don't have to do that, because it was so painful to watch, but also highly entertaining, I gotta tell you. The other video I watched that I think you guys should all watch, I'll also put this in the link, but this is part of the disclosure. I'm a big fan of Danielle DiMartino Booth. She's a macroeconomist, and she did a wonderful video. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was like economic gaslighting. I'll put that in the description as well, because I think everybody should watch that. But basically what is happening is that we are being told a lot of things that really aren't true within the economic structure. So reports are coming out, they're not real accurate. We're being told that things are really better than they are. And the reason this is important is because if you're feeling like your job is not so stable, your economic situation isn't so stable, it isn't just you. Things are just challenging right now, and it's important for you to make decisions from a place of truth. And we are being told a lot of things that aren't true. I'm actually seeing, intuitively, I was seeing that it was like behind closed doors, there was a discussion of how can we sort of finagle the numbers a little bit. So we're not really lying, but kind of misleading people so that things look better, just to get past November, just to get past the election. We all know this happens, but I was really seeing intuitively they were messing with economic data to try and make things just look okay. I do think Powell, who is actually a Republican, doesn't really want to play partisan games. So he's trying to figure out when he can lower the interest rates, which we all see is coming. But he doesn't want to help out the political system or be shown as being part of a political process. Nothing wrong with that. I actually think he's probably a really good person and genuinely believe that he's trying to help the population out here in the United States. But I do think that that's part of the conversation is, can we do this now, or do we need to wait until after the election? And I do think they are going to be lowering the interest rates. I know the betting market is saying, 2 hits, maybe 25 basis points, maybe 50 basis points. I actually think it's going to be closer to 200 basis points. And I do believe it's going to happen before the end of the year. I am seeing a lot of people thinking about buying a car and maybe being able to, because the interest rate has gone from 7% or 9% to 200 basis points lower, 2% lower, and people are able to do it. Having said that, if you've decided to buy a house and you're wondering if you should buy it now or not, I'm not going to buy a house right now, but you maybe need to make that decision for yourself and consult with a professional, because I do believe that the markets are going to be different in every state. But in general, I think the housing market is going to be way down. I've already talked about that. I think that you're going to be able to get some more deals next year. So I was seeing a lot of, there's actually a Supreme Court decision coming that I think my guides have kind of told me that we need to pay attention to. It is Grants Pass versus Johnson. Maybe it's Johnston. Forgive me if it's Johnston. I'm saying it wrong. But it affects 9 states. So it affects Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. And essentially what it says, and I'm oversimplifying this, essentially what has been said is that if you're a municipality, you can't give someone a ticket or incarcerate them for basically just being homeless. And unless you have someplace else to offer them. So if there's no beds in any homeless shelters available, you can't say to them, you can't camp on the sidewalk. You can't camp in the public spaces. Now you can say they can't camp on somebody's lawn, a private individual's lawn, but they can essentially camp wherever they want. This is the reason why when you're seeing things on TV about cities not being able to clear homeless encampments, it's not just a limitation in resources to clear the encampments. It's some restrictions in laws. Now, the communities, a lot of them have figured out ways around this. So you have been able to see them saying, hey, you can't camp on the town square, but you can camp on the lawn of the police station of the city. That's happened. Ask me how I know this one. A lot of that happening in different communities, but it is still going to be a very contentious issue. I do think the Supreme Court is going to say that cities are allowed to set rules and boundaries with this issue, and I do see some nasty protests as a result of it. If you're in one of those states, you've probably already seen some protests around this, but I do think that we're going to be seeing a lot more on that particular Supreme Court decision, which is due out by the end of the month. I do think it's going to come in sooner than that, so that's one to watch. I don't know whose question this is, but I thought it was interesting, and somebody was wondering about the state of Arkansas. And I think this is because Toyota just announced they're going to be closing a parts factory in a town in Arkansas. People were kind of wondering, like, how's the state of Arkansas going to be? I actually think there's going to be some more hits coming for the state of Arkansas because they do have a lot of manufacturing there. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of manufacturing plants closing during some economic downturn, but also do see the state of Arkansas shifting from manufacturing to a lot more tourism. They've already been making these changes. They really have been for the past few years. And I do think they're going to start to be more of a tourist destination with some of their mountain biking, their parks, their museums, and their schools are the quality of their schools are improving significantly. And we're going to start to hear more about that on the news. I don't know why that came up, but if that's your question, Arkansas is a beautiful place. And if you're wondering if you want to move there or not, people are very kind and they're more conservative. And for the most part, if you don't tell them what to do with their Bibles or their guns, you can all get along, even if you're not real conservative. So that's my take on that place. And I do see them making some really positive shifts out of manufacturing, but I think they're going to lose some more manufacturing than they've already lost. So last thing I'm going to say is I do encourage everyone to be a part of that disclosure event themselves. So if everybody knows something about how the sausage is made in their particular industry, maybe it's time to make a video about that. If you're someone who knows something interesting and you've been thinking about it, you've been thinking about telling people how a nonprofit works, for example, or how egos play an important part in certain businesses, play around with the idea of being part of that disclosure and sharing. That Delivrd video was awesome, and he got like 500,000 hits really quickly. So watch these things, get some ideas. If you're feeling passionate about sharing information, maybe it's time to start putting things into place. If you're feeling passionate about starting a business, maybe it's time to start doing that. Allow yourself this summer to do more than just watch Bridgerton, which I will watch. I'm going to watch it, just saying. Allow yourself to start to make plans for business and new things that you're going to be putting into place, because now it's time to take some action. And it's really exciting to see what you guys end up coming up with. So put any questions you have for future incarnations of this in the comment section. I welcome comments and I appreciate them, especially if they're kind and loving and respectful. But that's very helpful for this video, and it really helps me and this channel grow so that I can do more of these kind of things and so people can find them. So have a great week. I hope all is well for you, and thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.